This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the US. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. I'm Roger Stone. I'm fighting a little touch of laryngitis, but there's so much important political news. Well, I had to be here. Back in 2013, I wrote a book called The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. And in that tome, I made the case that Lyndon Baines Johnson headed a cabal that included the Central Intelligence Agency, organized crime, and Big Texas Oil to lure John F. Kennedy to his death in Dallas, Texas on November 22nd, 1963. I took that book to 7 publishers. They all told me that it had no commercial value. It became a New York Times best-selling book almost overnight. And I must tell you that I have seen nothing released so far from the National Archives that changed my mind. I believe that the shooter from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository Building was a man named Malcolm Mac Wallace, who had worked for Vice President and Senator Lyndon Baines Johnson, left his fingerprints on the cardboard boxes on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository Building. No fewer than 6 eyewitnesses, see a man who meets the physical description of Wallace standing in the window, and a second witness, a man named Loy Factor, a Native American, testifies and says in his book that he was recruited by Wallace to be a backup shooter that day. He accurately describes the physical layout of the room, including a flat saw that was to the right of the window from which it was alleged that Oswald shot, but from which Wallace actually shot. Now, Johnson had a mistress named Madeline Brown. Madeline Brown bore him a son. Pardon me. The son's name was Stephen Brown. If you go online right now and look, you will see that Stephen Brown bears an amazing resemblance to his daddy, Lyndon Baines Johnson. Madeline Brown told Lyndon Johnson the night before and the morning after, on November 21st and on the 22nd, that, after today, he would never have to put up with those Kennedys again. Let's play that clip.
Went to cursing. He used foul language all the time, and I said, those Kennedys, he repeated, they will never embarrass me again. That's no threat, that's a promise. And I'd like the entire world to know how I personally feel is the fact Lyndon Johnson knew about the assassination and was a part of it.
Now, Madeline Brown was interviewed by Geraldo Rivera, interviewed by Alex Jones and many others, yet there is no record of an interview by the Warren Commission with Madeline Brown. And Robert Caro, in his famous multi-volume biography of Johnson, makes no mention of Madeline Brown. He also makes no mention of Billy Sol Estes. Now, Billy Sol Estes was a flamboyant Texas businessman who was a crony of Lyndon Johnson's, a man who would ultimately go to prison for giving kickbacks to Johnson and others. But recently, his grandson, Shane Stevens, who is a deacon, a servant leader, a husband, father of 4 boys, partial custodian of 2 nieces and a nephew, a fine Christian gentleman and a businessman. He's a former regent in the Republican National Committee, has cultivated many relationships with key Republicans across the country, strong supporter of President Donald Trump. He's also a very successful businessman. Mr. Stevens owns and operates 13 companies, has successfully exited others, and has demonstrated a consistent ability to innovate, lead, and deliver results. He joins us now because just weeks ago, he released an audio tape. I'm going to let him describe it to us, but I think this tape confirms what I'm saying, which is that the shooter of President John F. Kennedy is not Lee Harvey Oswald, but rather Malcolm Wallace. Shane, welcome to the show, and thanks for helping me struggle through a touch of laryngitis.
Excellent, Roger. Well, I'm honored to be on your show and super excited to talk to you about this amazing subject, which I don't know that there's a whole lot more important around us as far as it pertains to the future of our country. And I appreciate the wonderful introduction. I'm going to have to get all that from you because I need to share that with my wife to remind her.
Tell us about Billy Saul. Tell us your relationship to him, and tell us how you came to have this tape. And then when we come back in about 3.5 minutes, we'll play this shocking audio.
Excellent. So yeah, my granddad Saul, one of my earliest memories was picking him up from a prison in a somewhat tattered old limo. And we went out to Big Springs to pick him up, and I was really excited about it. I think I was probably 6 years old, and he picked me up while we were walking out of the prison and carried me out. And then that picture was on the front page of the Abilene Reporter News, and I thought that was really cool to be on the news, but figure out later that a lot of folks really didn't think the best of Saul. I'd say a majority of folks really thought a lot of him and thought that he could have gotten out of all the financial stuff had they not shut him down. But, there are also folks that are like, well, your granddad's a convict or inmate or a felon, so it wasn't as good of a thing as I originally thought. But either way, he was my granddad, and I loved him. He was a character, and lots of stories to tell.
This, what you have produced here, is, of course, historic. Just to give some background, Billy Saul Estes did do time, but when he emerged from prison, he wrote a book, which I've read, and he testified under oath that he had attended meetings with Johnson and his cronies where the murder of JFK was actually planned. It is amazing that he is completely ignored in Robert Caro's biography. But this audio tape, which we will play when we come back, really should change the shape of history. Malcolm Mac Wallace was an agriculture department employee in a patronage job arranged for by Senator Lyndon Baines Johnson. We have his fingerprints because in 1951, he was convicted of first-degree murder in the murder of a man named John Douglas Kinzer. Kinzer shot and killed because he was trying to blackmail Senator Lyndon Baines Johnson. Those fingerprints, which were confirmed by Nathan Darby of the Austin Police Department, one of the country's leading fingerprint technicians and experts, to belong to the man who really did shoot John F. Kennedy. That would be Malcolm Mac Wallace. When we come back, more with Shane Stevens, and we'll play this historic tape. Whatever you do, folks, don't touch that dial.
This is The Roger Stone Show.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Underwear drawers are like the Wild West. You never know what you're going to pull out or what shape it's in. So upgrade your collection with the buttery soft comfort of MeUndies. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. Plus, it's breathable and oh so comfy, making it ideal for all-day wear. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Spotify with code Spotify. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code Spotify.
PMS, pregnancy, menopause. Being a woman is a lot. Ollie supports you and yours with expert solutions for every age and life stage. They just launched 2 new products exclusively at Walmart. Period Hero combats bloat, mood swings, and more during PMS. And Balance Perimeno to support hormonal balance, mood, and metabolism during perimenopause. Grab yours at Ollie.com.
Ollie!
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone.
Roger Stone.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group. Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. I'm Roger Stone, and we are on the Red Apple Audio Network. God bless you as I soldier through just a touch of laryngitis, but today's political news was just too hot for me not to do the show. I'm joined by Shane Stevens. He is a businessman and a patriot, a Texan. He is also the grandson of Billy Sol Estes. Now, just weeks ago, Shane Stevens unearthed a audio tape, which I really think should change history. I watched him on Glenn Beck the other day. By the way, Shane, I think you were terrific. But what you're about to hear is a conversation between Billy Sol Estes, the flamboyant Texas businessman, crony of Lyndon Johnson, and Cliff Carter, who was Lyndon Johnson's chief political operative. He was the executive director of the Democrat National Committee. Let's roll this tape.
It's sure good to see you. How's life treating you today?
Well, Saul, it's been a pretty touch and go situation. Lyndon and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal that he hired Mike Wallace to assassinate the president. It's been hectic in every way, but we've lived through it this far. I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike. But we've had our differences, and I'm a true blue to Lyndon, as I've always been, and tried to carry out every order that he'd ever given me. But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget. And the times that we've had in Texas, and the embarrassment that Lyndon had gotten from Kennedy, I guess there wasn't anything else to do but what he did.
Well, you know, Lyndon could have really hit me if he would.
Well, Lyndon's the kind of person that doesn't want to help anyone. He's, he's all for Lyndon, and that's the way he's pretty much always been.
Well, they had me backed up on that Henry Marshall killing, and they just kind of blackmailed me to keep my mouth shut. And if I hadn't had a bunch of tapes that I played after he got killed, because, 17 got killed in this situation very mysteriously. And I've done a lot of time, and I've lost a lot of money, and it's hurt my family a whole lot. And it's really got me disgusted with Lyndon in one way. In one way, I feel real sorry for him. But I really feel like that in Lyndon's heart, he felt like that he was doing the right thing. He felt like that he was the savior of the common man. I feel like that in his heart he wanted to help people.
So that reference to Henry Marshall. Henry Marshall was a Texas Ranger who was investigating corruption by Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was shot and killed at his ranch. The local coroner, a Johnson man, called it suicide, said he had shot himself in the head with his own rifle. Yet a gas station attendant only miles from the ranch identified Malcolm Mac Wallace as the man who stopped at the gas station to ask directions to the Marshall Ranch. Yet another of the many killings that I document in my book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Shane, with about 4 minutes to go, how did you come to acquire this audio tape?
So it would have been approximately 10 years ago, and that we'd known that the tapes were out there. My granddad always said that was the only reason that he was able to stay alive, and he supposedly had tapes of, prior to the assassination of Johnson and after. And these tapes were in the hands of my uncle, Darrell Bright, and he reached out to his daughter Star and said that he's getting dementia and he wants to get rid of the tapes, and that Saul always said he'd know what to do if the time came, but, Saul had passed away, I think, in 2012. So he wanted her to take them, and my little brother Clay went and got them. She didn't want to keep them, so she had me take them. So I just held on to them, and I did have them transcribed over, and that's kind of a story in itself. But got the audio, and my jaw dropped when I heard it and realized that what Saul had always said about his tapes and Lyndon and Cliff Carter and all that was true. It was there.
Now, once you release this, has the mainstream media, beat down your door for interviews or to listen to the tape?
No, they're ducking from this as hard as they can because they were complicit in the cover-up. So, Glenn Beck, he really took a big chance of sharing this, and I'm not sure if he's had a lot of backlash, blowback from it, but, I think if the public continues to show the same level of interest in this and they continue to push for more information, which there is a lot more to share about all of this, a lot of detail. If you go into every word and every sentence within this audio, it packs a lot. And I don't know that mainstream media can truly dodge it and avoid it forever, because I've got 4 or 5 more podcasts lined up with people that are just constantly reaching out, wanting to share it with their audience. And there seems to be kind of an insatiable appetite amongst the American public and really overseas as well, the folks that know we were lied to. They know that the truth was bent. They know it's an injustice of what happened to JFK. And we just have a more educated populace now, I think, and a wiser populace that understands we have a government that may not have been so honest with us.
To say the least, when you combine it to the fact that the Dallas police paraffin test on Lee Harvey Oswald showed no powder burns on him, no nitrates on his arms, his face, his cheeks, his hands. Clearly he didn't shoot a weapon that day. Now you add to it the testimony of Victoria Adams, who was on the staircase between floors 6 and 2, where Oswald was caught 90 seconds after Kennedy was shot. It becomes abundantly clear that you have helped prove that Lee Harvey Oswald, as he said that day, was a patsy, and he shot no one. Shane Stevens, thank you so much for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If your brain is at full capacity with to-dos, birthdays, and dinner plans, meet Skylight Calendar. It syncs your entire family's schedule onto a sleek digital display, so you focus on important things like where you left your coffee. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/talk. Go to skylightcal.com/talk for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That's skylightcal.com/talk.